Hello, my name is Ved and I work as the digital evangelist and business innovation lead at TCS. My good friend Nikhil, who is a senior consultant at a well-known consulting firm, will tell you that you can break up the kinds of risks that you face in business into a number of categories. For example, you can have geopolitical risk, you could have consumer risk because consumer habits change, you could have industry risk, and you could have technology risk. All of these though depend on your being able to predict in some way what that risk is going to be, where it's going to come from, what's the line of attack. Imagine this kind of 2x2 matrix where you're looking at known and unknown on the x-axis and known and unknown on the y-axis, and in the corner you've got the known, which is the world we try to live in. This is the world of predictable plans. This is where all our planning takes place. When you put a project plan together or a strategy, a large chunk of that you're relying on the known. But then we always keep in mind that something could go wrong, so we build a risk register. And this is the world of the known unknown, which is we know something could go wrong, some supplier might be late, a construction project could be delayed, the weather could change something. These are all things we are anticipating might go wrong, and we would build a model to address that. It's still the world of the known unknown. The unknown comes in for essentially things that we cannot anticipate. So by definition, we can't plan for them. If we could plan for them, there would not be an unknown. This is the paradox we're dealing with here. There is no way of dealing with the unknown in a structured, organized, planned manner. Now, these unknowns are typically combinatorial incidents that are usually the result of two or more different things happening in a sequence that takes us into a territory that we are not able to anticipate. They're typically driven by externalities. We were thinking of a certain outcome, but there were other outcomes that were side effects that we didn't anticipate, and this is what creates the kind of unknowns we are talking about. The example that comes to my mind, for instance, is the very famous example of the local government that tried to reduce the number of snakes in a town by issuing a reward for killing snakes. And they said that to qualify for the reward, you would have to bring in the dead snake. So that went wild for a while, and then people realized in the village that actually there was money to be made by bringing in a dead snake. So people started breeding snakes so they could bring the dead snakes in and claim the reward. At some point, the government got smart, the local government, and they said, well, that's it. You guys are all just making money. This is a scam, so we're going to cancel the reward, and no more rewards will be given for the dead snakes. So what did the snake breeders do? They said, yeah, these are no use. Let's just let them go into the wild. So all it did was it actually increased the number of snakes rather than reduce them. And this is the kind of externalities and what we call sort of combinatorial externalities, unintended consequences that lead us to the world of unknowns. Why is this relevant today? Because the world is what we call VUCA, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The world is volatile because it changes faster than we can imagine. The world is uncertain because we don't know in what ways it will change. We often don't know the causes of the change, what's driving the change, and perhaps sometimes what sometimes the outcome will be. And finally, the world is ambiguous because sometimes even after the change has taken place, we don't know what the outcomes are. And this is a picture of Paris after the terrorist attack, and this is a picture of New Orleans after the flood. So if the world is VUCA, what does that mean for the world around us in a more real sense? Well, you could argue that Brexit ticks all the boxes of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So this is a real example around us right now where all of these are true. But equally, we've got climate change to deal with. We're living in a post-industrial world where a lot of the rules around work are being rewritten, and also we are kind of reaching a point where democracy perhaps isn't quite working the way we wanted it to. So really, everything is changing, everything is complex and ambiguous, and we don't quite know what it'll look like in 3 years' time, 5 years' time. So the question then becomes, if this is the world, if the world is that uncertain and volatile, and the unknowns are all around us, how do we manage risk and what exactly are we managing